Good morning, everyone. I am Ann Levinson, the Chair of Public Disclosure Commission, here as presiding officer this morning. And today is January 20th, 2017. We'll be doing brief enforcement hearings. Let me ask the staff president to introduce themselves.
Evelyn Lopez, Executive Director.
Kurt Young, Compliance Officer. And Jacob Berkey, Compliance Coordinator.
Thank you. All right, and we'll begin with Mr. Bryant.
Yes.
Okay. So this is a brief adjudicative proceeding in the matter of Dwayne Bryant, who's a school director for the Winlock School District, and the PDC case number is 10034. This proceeding is being held at the Public Disclosure Commission office in Olympia, Washington, and is being conducted under the authority of RCW 3405, the Administrative Procedures Act, as well as relevant PDC statutes and rules. We'll be audio taping this hearing for the record. Mr. Bryant, you've submitted a letter.
Yes.
And would you like to provide some testimony this morning also?
Yes, I actually got a chance to talk to Kurt before the meeting a little bit, and I think I probably got most of my questions answered already.
Okay,
but
great.
I'm basically here because I wanted to get some clarification, because
Okay.
I'm in my second term there. I run into this issue each year that some years my accountant gets me done, and some years he doesn't.
All right,
And
well,
so,
let me pause you for just a second
Yes.
for the record and ask Mr. Young to go ahead and just present the case quickly, and then we'll turn to you and
Yes.
have you add to that. Raise your,
Swearing in notice. Sorry about that.
all right, if you raise your right hand, you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to present will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Before we start, just a few statistics, background. The financial affairs statement for calendar 2015 was due April 15th, 2016. How this process started, December 15 through January 2016, the staff reminds each jurisdiction to provide us with a list of the annual officials who are serving for the upcoming year and the previous year. That starts as a basis for deriving the list of filers that are required to file the F1. Between March and April of 2016, staff sends out email reminders every other week, reminding those folks that F1's due. This year, because of some staffing and other issues, the group mandatory filer enforcement was pushed back, so we didn't send out warning letters until July 6th, in which we sent out 382 warning letters. And then between October 21st and November 9th, we sent out one last email reminder to 103 elected officials. We did that since so much time had expired between the warning letters and the time that we were actually going to do the hearing, that we thought one more reminder was a reasonable follow-up. On December 1st, staff assigned and sent out 65 hearing notices. One hearing notice was pulled prior to the mailing and closed administratively, since that filer submitted the F1 prior to we received it after the December 1st date, but it was postmarked before, so it passed in the mail. We closed that case administratively. Updated, there were 20 filers that had filed the missing F1 report, completed the statement of understanding, and paid either the $100 or $150 civil penalty, which we discussed earlier. We did have 7 of the respondents that had their cases closed administratively after the hearing notices were sent. One person had resigned office. Another person had resigned office and moved out of state. There was one person who was appointed to the office after March 1st, 2016, so they probably shouldn't have been in the annual filer list. They didn't own an F1 for 2015. They owed it for the previous 12 months, and that person followed through and filed once he was notified. And then there was a couple others that had provided some mitigating factors from the jurisdiction about confusion whether they were eligible to serve. We had 2 cases that are being held over since the hearing notices returned as undeliverable. And then we have, it looks like, about 35 cases scheduled for today. Specifically concerning Mr. Bryant in PDC case 10034, Mr. Bryant was elected to office as a school director in 2009. He has no prior violations. He filed the F1 report on December 7th, and he sent the letter. In addition, we had a discussion before this hearing, and there was some confusion about the the filing in the S Corp and the fact that his taxes don't get completed until later in the year. I provided him information and said that we would request you to file the report in April when it's due, attach a cover letter and say these are the numbers to the best of my knowledge. Once my accountant completes my taxes, then I will file an amended F1 report at that time if there are any changes. Based on the fact that F1 is late, staff would recommend you find a violation of 4217A 700 for failing to timely file the F1 and assess the $150 penalty, but staff would recommend that you suspend it all pending no further violations for 4 years. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you. Mr. Bryant, what would you like to add?
Well, I think we had a great discussion before the hearing here. I really needed clarification because I have an S Corp, of course, and also a family farm and my wife's job. And so I'm juggling constantly every year trying to get these things done. And my car dealership, of course, doesn't encapsulate everything in that manner. So I've had the same accounting firm for close to 30 years now, and he's on a schedule. He has 4 or 5 offices, and I've got a window when I've got to get it to him. He does an extension every year on my taxes because of some issues, some buy here, pay here contracts, things like that have to wrap up. And so the reason I'm here today is because I can see in the future this is going to be a problem every year for me, and it doesn't seem morally correct to me. When Kurt had sent me a notice in July, I think I start getting notices, I think this year in March from Chip Beatty saying, remember to do your PDC, which I always remember. I just am unable, and so I watch it. I actually in my emails have your guys' own public disclosure email box where this stuff goes, where I can find it easily. And in July, as Kurt had mentioned, that I've got the notice, I said, what do I do? I'm never going to get these done until October 15th, I know, in advance. And some years I do. I should take that back. Some years I get it done, and I'm really close, right? But if I miss this window of time with my accountant, he's not even going to look at my stuff till later in the summer. And this year, it was October 15th. I didn't even get the packet back from him until mid-November. And so by that time, I'd received a notice and says, hey, get this done before December something, or you're going to get a fine. So I think I sent it in the first week or so of December and received the mail within the same week, that, we were going to have a hearing for you. So I thought, I'm going to show up and at least learn. And Wednesday night at our school board meeting, I says, I've been a pretty good school board member, but I'm going to resign if I have to run into this, if I can't ethically in my own heart and mind do this properly. When Kurt had sent me the message in July, my first initial instinct was, I am not falsifying a document to the state. I've served on quite a few different boards at the state level and stuff, and have seen in the past that come back to bite people. And so I thought, I'm not going to falsify this, and I really didn't understand that I could do an addendum and say, this is what I'm going to do and file later. And I've never met Kurt before today, and so I thought, I'm not going to have somebody that I don't know tell me, go ahead and falsify this, and then everything will be okay. And then a year later, it's not okay, and face fraud charges or anything, so I didn't want to do that. So I'm here today basically to get it right in my mind on what can be done in my circumstance, so that I don't have to deal with it year after year. And it sounds like, if I'm correct, that I can do it to the best of my ability, but my business doesn't fit in between the ABC spatial dollar numbers. It may be $150,000 different next year. It may be $25,000 less the year after and stuff. So there are big swings that I know it's going to be incorrect to do that ahead of time unless I have that addendum on there that says, oh, by the way, I may have to amend this. I did not understand an amendment process right away until today, honestly. I seen the message that says just do it to the best of your ability. I thought, if that is all the more important the information is, then it isn't that important, and I totally understand the PDC and the transparency needed in elected officials, but if I can get false information in April, and that's okay, then correct information in end of October is better, and so But on the flip side, I know there's a lot of people. I just heard you say 300 and some people. There's a lot more people filing that you guys got to keep track of over the course of the year than just little old me, you know. And so I'm kind of being selfish thinking that it's just me. And so now that I understand I can do that, then in the future it'll just be simply I'll send in one as close a guess as I can. It may be $50,000 or $100,000 off, but if that's okay, and then I do the amended report later on, as soon as I have my official taxes, then I'm fine ethically with that. Another question I had and I wanted to have resolved today in my mind was the threshold of reporting $12,000 transactions, right? In my line of work, times a week probably, right? And the cost for me to have one of my employees go in and track every single transaction, because in the car business, most of them are that way, you know, it'd just be undue cost to me, and I just would resign my position because I just wouldn't pay the money for extra staff to do that. But as Kurt explained to me, I don't have to really do that with individual customers that walk in. It's more of a corporation type of deal, or different businesses that may be buying fleet stuff, which I don't run into too
Right.
much.
You can also, and Kurt can explain it later, you can also request a modification. We have all sort, as you might imagine, the statute doesn't allow for a lot of flexibility,
Right.
and you have all sorts of different businesses and all sorts of different roles that people who are required to fill these out have. And so the statute does allow for to apply to the commission for a modification of what you have to report,
Okay.
if it would cause you undue hardship in a particular way. So I'll allow you to talk more
And
about
he-
that.
And just to jump in, I did briefly mention that,
Yeah.
but when we send out the order, I'll attach the modification and information, and then if that does come up in the future, you can work with us and we can, facilitate you to get a modification request, go to the commission and grant relief from, listing all those business customers. There
Okay.
would be certain ones that are required to be listed,
Right.
so.
Yeah.
And
that's-
Mr. Bryant,
that's
your
perfect.
point is really well taken. The purpose of this law is to allow the public to have access to information for transparency and to make sure there aren't conflicts of interest and that the government is doing what it should do. And we also don't want to discourage you from participating on the school board or anyone else from participating in civic life.
Right.
So whatever we can do to structure the process to accomplish the goals of the statute, but also not make it so difficult for you, we want to try to find that
Yeah.
balance.
I had talked to Senator Braun about the RCW in particular, and I was explaining what the issue was for me in particular. And I got to be honest with you, I'm a little taken aback by the number that you threw out there, 300 and some of them. I had no idea, right? And
We
so-
actually
That's-
get closer to, I think we got close to 6,000 filed with us
Wow.
last year. When you think of every single
Yeah.
elected official in the state and appointed official.
Some school districts, I'm sure, pay their people. I've read of that. Ours not. And down in our county, I get asked quite often to run for different office, and I always say no, I'm too busy. But as I get older and have more people working for me, they understand I'm not going to be able to use that argument forever. And so, I really wanted this clear in my mind. That if I decided to take on a challenge like that, I wanted to make sure that I'm not going to run into this. And at breakfast this morning, I had a couple of other elected officials sitting beside me at Rotary, and I said, "What do you guys do about this?" And they all rolled their eyes at me, and I said, "Well, I'm going today." And I says, "No matter what, I'm coming home with answers that I can ethically adjust to myself." I told them at the school board meeting Wednesday night, I says, if this doesn't pan out right, I'm going to resign, and I hate to do that. They had asked me to be on that board for my business input, on how we run that small corporation we call a school district, and so I value that, and I work real hard at it, but I also have my regular business to run and stuff, and I can't have this kind of process be an impediment unless there's a way around it. And Kurt did a really good job of explaining ways that I feel good about that we can make that.
And I would just say, just to add to that, at the time that you're initially reporting, if there are particular sections or amounts that you think may be subject to change in the future, just highlighting there, if they're just elements of your report that you
Yeah.
think may change, that you may need to file an amended report
Yeah.
in the future. We in no way want to encourage you to knowingly provide incorrect information.
That was my ethical issue with this.
Right. So I just want to be very clear that that's We want as much compliance with the statute as possible, and we want to fulfill the mandate of the statute as much as possible, but we don't want to put you in that position. So to the extent you're going to say, based on the information I have available today, this is the amount.
Which I should be able to do that fairly close. My accountant actually is my Rotary Club too. So I had a table full of entertainment this morning, and I informed him. I said, this is going to require both of us prioritizing some things, right? I did not know that there was a way to do an amended one, and it could be a dollar amount that fluctuates quite a bit and stuff like that, but I don't think the intent will change. I can say at this time it looks like I kind of know where my company's at by the end of the year. My wife, who does our bookkeeping there, I say I want this encapsulated on the last day of the year, so January 1, I know where I'm at, and December 1, I know, can I afford to buy a new reader board, or what do I got to do, and so I'm trying to streamline that process. I think the Loggerhead has been in the accounting firm I've used for so many years. I hate to change at this point. They know my business and my farm and stuff so well. When he retires, unfortunately, we're about the same age. I don't know what I would do, and so I hate to change over something like this, to change that accounting process and stuff. And so I think I've had my questions answered very well today, Kurt. Thank you
Can I ask you a question?
about that.
Mr. Bryant, with this new way of doing it, where you sort of give your best estimate and then amend later in the year when you have a more accurate amount, is that going to work for you?
I think so. I myself know about where we're at,
Sure.
right? The problem is my accountant, I pay him a lot of money to tell me what I should and shouldn't be doing and how to structure certain things. And the laws change all of the time. And so he'll come back and say, well, you can't get that $7,500 tax deduction for that electric vehicle thing you put in at your place, when last year I did.
Right.
I don't get that opportunity from him until he's looked at all my books and he throws it out on the table to me, and says, well, we've got all summer. And then he takes off on to Europe, and I don't see him for a month, and that's really this year in particular what happened is that when in July I had an idea what needed to be done. I did not have it, and we had a big year, and so we had some influxes and things that were really going to throw the numbers different from what they were the year before, and I thought, I just am not going to write down a number that I know is not correct.
Sure.
And I had to have the input from my accountant to tell me what that number was going to be. And I thought, if it costs me some money in a fine, I'm going to pay it. I'm going to gripe about it, but I'm going to pay it rather than not be able to look myself in the mirror. And so that's why I'm here this morning.
So I'm glad you brought this up, because we can also look at the information we have on our website about the F1s and see if we need to add a little bit of information, for people who have not done their taxes by April 15th. Our recommendation is, put down your best reasonable estimate, and then you may need to amend it later in the year when you have more actual information.
I think it would be helpful when I talked to Senator Braun. I was, I've known him since he was a kid, and I was saying, maybe we need to change some of the wording in the RCW. You guys got a job to do, and trust me, I understand how that is. But the timelines don't work for everybody well, and it's not real descriptive on options, right? Nothing I could find on the site showed me a path, and like I said, I've been on other boards, and I'm never going to falsify a document with the state, and because let's say I run for an office, that stuff comes out in the vetting process, I promise you. And I don't want somebody to look at me after all the years of being voted best of Lewis County and this good guy. I don't want to ever have to put the black hat on, and so it was forcing me into a corner to do that until I had the final numbers for my guy. Now I know that if I can preface that and say, listen, I know this is as close as I know that it's going to be. I want to be transparent. The constituency in our district, I know them all. We're a small town out there, that I don't want them looking at me and saying, oh, geez, Bryant's hiding that $1 million or whatever, I don't want to be that guy, and so, but on the flip side, I don't want them to look at me after the fact and say, oh, he lied on that. That is, in a car business in particular, my name is all I have to go by, and if you look me up on the internet, it's a good name, and I want to keep it that way, so.
Well, Mr. Brown, I just want to express appreciation for being candid with us and working through this, and to the best of your ability trying to figure it out, and then help every one of these instances is educational for us, because as you were saying, the statute doesn't provide much flexibility, and
Yes.
with 6,000 different filers, each having their own circumstances.
Oh, yeah.
it's,
No, I get it. I do. And Johnny said the same thing. He says, you want me to change an RCW, for you, and there's all these other people. And I get that totally. I think just a mechanism. The federal law gives us until October 15th. There has to be a mechanism for people that have multiple companies or different things coming in that influx that and do extensions, because I'm within the law federally, and so we have a state regulation basically that's overriding what, as a citizen, I should be able to do at the federal level, right? That doesn't mean anything to you guys that are doing the work every day that maybe want to take a vacation and you're waiting on me, right? And I get that, but there still has to be a way to do it. And I think what you said is the right way to do it. That's the easiest, most expedient way, and just leave a direction for that. If you don't know how, if for sure what it's going to be, fill out to the best of your information, and then do at the end of October, as soon as you get the 15th filed, then you can finalize. And that's pretty quick and easy at that point and stuff. And then you can look yourself in the mirror and say, yeah, I did it right, and that's important. So.
Well, thank you for that. So do you have anything, Mr. Young, you'd like to add?
No, nothing further, thank you.
All right. So, having considered all the evidence presented in this case, I'll find as follows: that in the matter of PDC case 10034, that the record does support a violation of RCW 4217A 700 by Mr. Bryant for failing to timely file an F1 report for calendar year 2015. And based on that violation, I'll assess a penalty in the amount of $150, but based on the circumstances, I'll waive that penalty on the following conditions: that Mr. Bryant is in compliance with all reporting obligations, and he commits no further violations of the law. So that's Chapter 4217A RCW and Chapter 390 WAC for a period of 4 years from this order. That will conclude this matter. And if you have any further questions, please, we'd rather you called and asked.
Yeah.
And
No, this has been very informative. That's why I'm here, and why I didn't call it in or not show up or just send you a check. For me, sending the check's the quick and easy way to do business, But this is going to be something I could see in the future I'd have to do every year and further on down the line. So I've got a bunch of people I'll be reporting back to on this matter that had the same concerns, So.
Well,
maybe I can get rid of that 300, narrow that down a little bit for you guys by sharing some information.
And that's
I was
actually
just gonna
incredibly
ask,
valuable.
if you could help educate and encourage folks to call and ask if they
Yeah.
have questions. I think one of the challenges for staff is that it ends up taking so much staff time to follow up for
Sure it
folks.
does.
And we don't want to harass folks, but we don't want them to end up getting a place where they have to pay a penalty because they didn't timely
Yeah.
file. So.
No, in this particular case, when Chip starts sending out his email, I will say this. He does a very good job of that, and they're arriving early. Unfortunately, I look at him and say, God, I know, and they go to the box. My email, and this, everybody's different, but 100 a day at least, and so they go to my phone, I've got multiple email accounts because people are emailing us credit apps, they're mailing us purchase orders, things that they get off our websites and stuff like that I probably should hire a secretary to read my emails and stuff, but what I do is I look through them and I rate them in importance, right? And so they all go to their own box. Your guys, the PDC has its own box in my mail, and it'll pop up and say, oh, you got a mail, and I'll look and it's Chip. I go, oh, Chip's after me again, and I'll look at it briefly, and then life happens, next thing you know, 2 months went by, and it's like that in my world, and so I'm satisfied with my meeting with you today. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me, Kurt, and it makes it much clearer in my mind that what I can do and feel good about it. So
My pleasure, and I'll be sending out a written order within 10 days. I'll
Okay.
include that modification app if you need that in the
be
future, and we
great.
can help you with that as well.
super.
Thank
Very
you.
good. Thank you.
Take care.
Have a good day.
All right.
We had one more participant who was going to participate by phone, and that was Mr. Christofferson in PDC case 10037, and I will give him a call right now.
Tyrone Christopherson?
Yes, Tyron.
Tyrone. I don't think you have to come up to personality.
Oh, okay, that's true. Okay. We'll see if it goes through.
Followed by the area code.
Got it. Okay, now I'll get it right. And then the speaker is.
What's the number?
253 670 1358.
Good morning, this is Tyron.
Hi, Mr. Christopherson, it's Kurt with the Public Disclosure Commission. I've got you on speakerphone at the brief enforcement hearing. At this time, I'll turn you over to our chair, Ann Levinson.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Christopherson.
morning.
Thank you for joining us by phone. Let me just say for the record that this is a brief adjudicative proceeding and being held at the Public Disclosure Commission office in Olympia and conducted under the authority of RCW 3405, the Administrative Procedures Act, and relevant PDC statutes and rules. I'm Ann Levinson, chair of the PDC, and I'll be presiding over this brief hearing. And we'll be audio taping it. And let me start. Mr. Young, I've previously sworn you in, so could you give a brief presentation, and then I'll ask Mr. Christopherson to provide some additional thoughts for me.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is the matter of PDC case 10037, Tyron Christopherson, a city council member for the city of Edgewood. He's been a city council member for a few years now. He filed the missing report on January 7th, 2017. He sent a letter to you in mitigation that you've been provided a copy of. In reviewing his filings, there were no prior violations or late filings of the F1 or any other report that's been submitted to the PDC. Based on that information, the report was late, and Mr. Christopherson did acknowledge that in his letter, but he did offer some mitigation. Based on that mitigation, staff would recommend you find a violation of 4217A 700, assess a penalty of $150, but suspend the entire amount based on the mitigating factors in his letter and the additional information he's going to provide today.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Christopherson, what would you like to add?
Well, I want to thank everyone's time today. It's never my intent to ever be late on anything. I take pride in my ability to be very organized, and it was simply an honest omission that I did not get that form filed completely and on time. I spoke to Kurt, and he was very forthcoming with some information regarding the process, and I am happy to say that I've already completed the F1 for this current year, 2016, and I'm prepared to mail that out today as well. Like I say, it was an honest mistake, and aside from the contents of the letter, I don't have any additional information to add.
Okay, thank you very much. And I have reviewed the letter and the information provided by staff. Having considered all of that evidence, I will find that in the matter of PDC case 10037, the record does support a violation of RCW 4217A 700 by Mr. Christopherson for failing to timely file an F1 report for calendar year 2015. Having found a violation, I'm assessing a penalty in the amount of $150. But based on the additional information provided, I will waive that or suspend that on the following conditions. That Mr. Christopherson is in compliance with all of his reporting obligations, and that he has no further violations of Chapter 4217A RCW and Chapter 390 WAC for a period of 4 years. And I'll ask Mr. Young if he would write that up and provide the written order within the next 10 days to Mr. Christopherson. Mr. Young, do you have anything else you would like to add?
Nope, I appreciate his responsiveness to this issue, and I will get that order out to you, Mr. Christopherson, in 10 business days.
Very good. I thank you all for your understanding, and it will not happen again, I promise.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Take care.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, the third matter.
Yeah, and then we'll go back to the top of the list. The Kevin Aiken in PDC case number 10027. Did you want me to present the facts and then you can read into it, or how would you what's your preference?
Sure, let's just, for the purpose of efficiency, let me just say that for all the matters that that I will hear following this point, that we've already stated for the record that this is January 20th, 2017, that these are brief adjudicative proceedings being held here at the PDC office in Olympia, and they're each being conducted under the authority of RCW 3405, as well as the Administrative Procedures Act and relevant PDC statutes and rules. We've identified the staff present and indicated that each proceeding will be audio taped. We do not expect respondents or representatives for any of these matters at this time, so we'll proceed with the staff doing a brief summary, and then I'll issue findings.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As stated, this is Kevin Aiken in PDC case 10027. Mr. Aiken is a water commissioner for the Malaga Water District, a small water district. He was elected in 2015. He has no prior violations, and he has not filed the F1 report that was due by April 15th, 2016 for calendar year 2015. Staff would recommend you find a violation of 4217A 700 and assess a $250 penalty in accordance with the penalty schedule adopted by the Commission for the F1 reporting.
All right. Having considered all of the evidence presented in this matter, I'll find that in PDC case 1007, the record does support a violation of RCW 4217A 700 by Mr. Aiken for failing to file an F1 report for calendar year 2015. Having found that violation, I'll assess a penalty in the amount of $250. Respondent will also be required to be in compliance with all reporting obligations and commit no further violations of this chapter. And Mr. Young, you'll provide Mr. Aiken a written summary of this order.
And just for the record, would you like that payment within 30 days of receiving the order?
Yes, and I should have clearly stated that, and for all matters this morning, that would be my expectation, and that if the payment is not received timely, that the PDC staff are directed to impose not only the penalty, but refer the matter to DES for collections. Okay.
Perfect, thank you. The next matter is William Atkinson, PDC case 10029. He's a school director for the Skykomish School District. It's a small school district right on the King-Snohomish border. Mr. Atkinson was a school director from 2007 to 2010, and he had to resign his office due to some medical issues, from what I've been able to piece together. He was appointed to the position sometime in March of 2015, according to the meeting minutes that I reviewed. However, there doesn't appear to be an F1 report that was filed since his appointment. He was not elected. I couldn't find that he was on the ballot as a candidate. So staff would recommend you find a violation of 4217A 700, assess a $250 penalty in accordance with the penalty schedule. However, just based on the lack of additional information I could find that he had been warned prior to this year, staff would be open to suspending some portion of the penalty if he filed his F1 and paid the non-suspended portion within 30 days.
Mr. Young, have you been able to have any contact with the school district personnel?
I hadn't yet. I just did some more research in just the last couple days, and that was something, had I had more time, I would have followed up on, but that's normally the practice that I would have.
I'm trying to think through the most efficient way to handle this so that you can get a chance to have some additional communication and we can determine the status of Mr. Atkinson's service.
We are likely to have, we could have another
Why don't we do this? I'll be back next week for a full commission meeting. So let me give you a little more time to get additional information, and then either prior to that commission meeting or after, I'm happy to hold a brief adjudicative proceeding next week. So that won't delay things very much, but it seems to me a little bit more logical.
Definitely, so we'll hold that one over. The next matter is Marie Borth, PDC case 10031. Ms. Borth's incumbent Park and Recreation Commissioner for the Adams County Park and Recreation District. She was appointed Park and Rec Commissioner in 2012. She has no prior violations for F1 or any PDC matters. She has failed to file the F1 report for calendar year 2015, so based on those facts, staff would recommend you find a violation of 4217A 700 and assess a $250 penalty in accordance with the penalty schedule for the F1.
Is she filed in previous years, or is she new?
Yep, and
Okay,
timely,
so she's
no
aware of her
violations.
obligations. And yes.
Absolutely,
All
yeah.
right. All right.
And no mail has been returned or anything, so.
Okay. Having considered all the evidence presented in this case, I'll find that in the matter of PDC case 10031, the record does support a violation of RCW 4217A 700 by Ms. Borth for failing to file an F1 report for calendar year 2015. Having found a violation, I'm assessing a penalty in the amount of $250, requiring that the respondent get in compliance with all reporting obligations, pay that penalty amount in full within 30 days. If that is not done, I'm requesting that the staff refer the matter to DES for collections within 10 days.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next matter is Dane Bruner in PDC case 10033. Mr. Bruner is listed as a fire commissioner for Snohomish County Fire Protection District number 24. This is a little different than the Mr. Atkinson case earlier. I found no filing history for him. There's no website for Snohomish County Fire Protection District 24. It's a pretty small fire protection district up in Darrington. I researched the elections, Snohomish County elections, and he was not listed as a candidate in either 2013 or 2015 as a fire commissioner candidate. So he apparently got appointed some time in the near future. I left a message for the fire district asking some questions yesterday. I haven't got a call back, so I would recommend we hold this matter over similar to Mr. Atkinson until additional information is obtained.
All right, I'll accept that recommendation, and we'll hold this matter over until next week.
Thank you. The next matter is William Burkett, PDC case 10036. Mr. Burkett's an incumbent city council member for the city of Buckley. He was elected to office in 2015 as a first-time candidate. He has no prior violations. He failed to file the F1 report for calendar year 2015 due April 15th. Based on those facts, staff would recommend the violation of 4217A 700 and assess a $250 penalty in accordance with the F1 penalty schedule.
All right. In the matter of PDC case 10036, I find that the record does support a violation of RCW 4217A 700 by Mr. Burkett for failing to file an F1 report for calendar year 2015. Having found a violation, I'm assessing a penalty in the amount of $250, requiring compliance with the law going forward, and that this penalty amount be paid within 30 days in full. Requesting that if that does not occur, the staff refer the matter to DES for collections within 10 days to ensure full compliance.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next matter is Gregory Colfax, PDC case 10039. Mr. Colfax is an incumbent school director for the Cape Flattery School District. He's been a school director for at least the past 15 years. He has one prior violation in the last 5 years, PDC case 12178, in which he was assessed a $400 penalty that was sent to Alliance One for collections. He does have two prior violations, but those were in calendar year 2004 and 2005 and outside the scope for consideration for the penalty in this matter. He's failed to file the F1 report for calendar year 2015. Staff would recommend you find a violation of 4217A700 for failing to file the F1 report and assess a $500 penalty in accordance with the penalty schedule for a filer with one prior violation who failed to file the report by the date of the hearing.
And Mr. Young, your recommendation on that is because of the time limitation, that this would be considered only a second violation?
That's correct. We had some discussions about whether to go beyond 5 years or to their entire filing history, and that didn't seem reasonable. And the 5 years seemed like that was in accordance with our statute for going back for finding violations. For assessing a penalty would be similar.
Having considered all the evidence presented in this case, I'll find that in the matter of EDC case 10039, the record does support a violation of RCW 4217A700 by Mr. Colfax for failing to file an F1 report for calendar year 2015. Having found that violation, I'm assessing a penalty in the amount of $500, none of which is to be suspended. Mr. Colfax is to pay that amount in its entirety within 30 days, or the staff should refer that to DES for collections in full. And the respondent is expected to commit no further violations of RCW 17A or Chapter 390 for a period of 4 years.
Thank you. The next matter is Tiffany Colson, PDC case 10041. Ms. Colson's a hospital commissioner for the Grant County Hospital District Number 3. She has no prior violations. She filed the missing F1 report on January 11th, 2017 electronically. In communication with staff and Chip Beatty specifically, we had emailed her back and forth about the statement of understanding and the penalty payment, and it was our thought that she was going to be filing that. I left her a message last night and have not received a call back, so I guess maybe we would recommend a violation of 4217A700 for failing to timely file the F1 report, assess a penalty of $150, and in accordance with that, and I guess if we receive the statement of understanding and penalty in the next week, the penalty would be reduced to $100, and we would accept that.
Let me suggest this, since
Okay,
I've
perfect.
already agreed to hear additional cases next week. Let's hold this over.
Okay.
See if you receive that, and if not, we'll take care of it next week.
Perfect, that's good. Okay, the next matter will be Gerald Cummings and PDC case number 10042. Mr. Cummings is an incumbent school director for the Southside School District. He was elected to office in 2015 as a first-time candidate. He has no prior violations but failed to file the F1 report for calendar year 2015. Staff would recommend you find a violation of 4217A700 and assess a $250 penalty in accordance with the penalty schedule.
And you have had contact with him, or
No contact, but the hearing notice has not been returned.
and he received the warning letters and?
That's correct.
Okay.
That was not returned either.
Okay. All right. Having considered all the evidence presented in this case, I'll find that in the matter of PDC case 10041, the record does support a violation of RCW 4217A700 by Mr. Cummings for failing to file an F1 report for calendar year 2015. I'm assessing a penalty in the amount of $250, requiring Mr. Cummings be in compliance with the law going forward and pay this full amount within 30 days, or if not, asking that the staff refer the matter immediately to collections.
Thank you. The next matter is Catherine Davis in PDC case 10043. Ms. Davis is an incumbent school director for the Hawkinson School District. She was appointed school director in late November 2011 and timely filed reports prior to this last year. Exchanged voice messages with Ms. Davis on December 9th about the filing the F1. She electronically submitted that on December 11th, 2016. She does have no prior violations. Based on those facts, staff would recommend You find a violation of 4217A 700 for failing to timely file the F1 report and assess a $150 penalty in accordance with the penalty schedule.
All right. Before making a finding on this, let me just say there do appear to be quite a number of school district folks today, and I'd like to request of the staff that we add to our work plan. There's a new head of OSPI, and I think it's worth us seeing what kind of partnership we could put together to have OSPI provide additional information to schools, particularly smaller school districts. Make sure people understand their obligations, and just as we've been trying to do with Secretary of State and Seattle Ethics and Elections to make it easier, get information out there and answer questions. All right. Having considered all the evidence presented in this case, I'll find that in the matter of PDC case 10043, the record does support a violation of RCW 4217A 700 by Ms. Davis for failing to timely file an F1 report for calendar year 2015. Having found that violation, I'm assessing a penalty in the amount of $150 and requiring it to be paid within 30 days and asking the staff otherwise to refer the matter to DES for collections, requiring ongoing compliance with the statute and WAC, as in the other cases.
Thank you. The next matter is Olivia De Leon, PDC case number 10044. Ms. De Leon is a school director for the Mount Vernon School District. She was elected to office in 2015 as a first-time candidate. She has a violation for failing to file the C1 and F1 report as a candidate and was fined $300. I could not find that an F1 report has ever been filed by her. So based on that, this would be her second violation. Staff would recommend you find a violation of 4217A 700 and assess a $500 penalty in accordance with the F1 penalty schedule.
So, Mr. Young, in the preceding year, was there an enforcement?
There was a hearing and an order sent to her, and I believe that got sent to collections as well. We haven't received a penalty payment for that prior violation.
Would you verify for me, please, before next week that in fact was sent to collections and it's been followed through on?
Sure.
No, it won't change my view of the violation, but I want to make sure that we, in fact, if there was a prior violation found, this record seems to support, and
the timing
failure to
would have been
pay.
that the penalty was assessed, and then we started the DES collections probably about 6 months later. And I believe we picked up those prior cases with them sending out the 3-step warning process or reminder letters for collections, but I'll verify that.
well, let me suggest if that has not occurred, that in this matter, that both be sent to collections, wrapped together and sent to collections is for one payment. Having considered all the evidence presented in this case, I'll find that in the matter of PDC case 10044, the record does support a violation of RCW 4217A 700 by Ms. De Leon for failing to timely file an F1 report for calendar year 2015 based on the penalty schedule. I'm finding assessing a penalty in the amount of $500, and we should refer this matter, as I've just indicated, both matters to collections at this point. Well, in fairness, let me suggest that we allow her 30 days to comply, but in that order, there's an obligation to pay the full amount owed within 30 days. So if there's any prior amount still pending, based on that record, that both be paid at this time or both be referred together to collections for payment. Okay?
Perfect. I'll confirm that with Jana after this meeting about that prior penalty. The next matter is Orrin Dodson, PDC case 10045. Mr. Dodson's an incumbent fire commissioner for Whatcom County Fire District Number 1. He's been a fire commissioner dating back to at least 1996. He has no prior violations since 2004, so the last 12, 13 years he's had no violations, timely filed his F1 report. He failed to file the F1 for calendar year 2015. Based on those facts, staff would recommend you find a violation of 4217A 700 and assess a $250 penalty in accordance with the penalty schedule.
All right. Having considered all the evidence presented in the case, I'll find that in the matter of PDC case 10045, the record does support a violation of RCW 4217A 700 by Mr. Dodson for failing to file an F1 report for calendar year 2015. Based on that violation, I'm assessing a penalty in the amount of $250, requiring that be paid within 30 days, otherwise directing the staff refer the matter to DES for collections within 10 days. And Mr. Dodson is required to commit no further violations of the law going forward.
Thank you. The next matter is Wanda Fensel, PDC case 1046. Ms. Fensel is a school director for the Soap Lake School District. She was elected to the school board in 2009, has been an incumbent official since that time. She has one prior violation, PDC case 13-251, which a $150 penalty was assessed and subsequently paid. Ms. Fensel failed to file the F1 report for calendar year 2015, and based on the facts, staff would recommend you find a violation of 4217A 700 and assess a $500 penalty for a filer that has one prior violation that failed to file the report by the date of the hearing.
And when was the prior violation?
So it would have been 13251, so it would have been for the F1 due in 2012. That would have been due April 15th.
So she failed to file it, but then the next couple of years she filed, and now she's done it again.
Maybe,
Late.
yeah,
Not filed at all. It's not a matter of late. There is no filing. Okay. In the matter of PDC case 10046, I have considered all the evidence and find the record does support a violation of RCW 4217A 700 by, is it pronounced Fenkel? Fenkel?
Fensel?
Fensel, thank
Sorry.
you. By Ms. Fensel for failing to file an F1 report for calendar year 2015. I'll assess a penalty in the amount of $500 to be paid within 30 days. If not paid, the matter should be referred to DES for collections within 10 days for full compliance.
Thank you. The next matter is Marlon Freiberg in PDC case 10047. Mr. Freiberg is an incumbent fire commissioner for Snohomish County Fire Protection District 15. Elected fire commissioner in 2009. He has no prior violations. He e-filed the missing F1 report on January 3rd, 2017. Based on those facts, staff would recommend you find a violation of 4217A 700 for failing to timely file the F1 report and assess a $150 penalty against Mr. Freiberg for his first violation, then filing the report by the date of the hearing.
So based on our penalty schedule, just to verify that, so he has no prior violations. He did file it. It's a matter of wasn't timely filed. And you've reviewed the filing, and it's as it should be. All right. In the matter PDC case 10047, I'll find that the record does support a violation of RCW 4217A 700 by Mr. Freiberg for failing to timely file an F1 report for calendar year 2015. Based on the penalty schedule, I'm assessing a penalty in the amount of $150 and requiring that it be paid within 30 days, or the staff shall refer the matter to collections through DES within 10 days.
Thank you. Next matter is Neil Fuchs in PDC case 10048. Mr. Fuchs is a school director in the Freeman School District. He was appointed school director in 2011. He has no prior PDC violations. He filed the missing F1 report on January 9th, 2017. Staff would recommend you find a violation of 4217A700 for failing to timely file the F1 report and assess a $150 penalty in accordance with the penalty schedule.
So as with the prior matter, this is a first-time violation, and it's a matter of failing to timely file as opposed to not filing.
That's correct.
All right. The matter of PDC case 10048, find the record does support a violation of RCW 4217A700 by Mr. Fuchs for failing to timely file an F1 report for calendar year 2015. Having found that violation, I'm assessing a penalty in the amount of $150 to be paid within 30 days, and asking if it is not that the staff refer the matter to DES for collections within 10 days to ensure full compliance.
Thank you. The next matter is Kevin Hickson in PDC case 10052. Mr. Hickson's an incumbent fire commissioner for Snohomish County Fire Protection District 16. I don't show any filing history. I did look at the Snohomish County Elections website, and he was elected fire commissioner in 2015. He received 404 votes as unopposed. I don't know if at that time that the district had 1,000 registered voters or not. It's an all-volunteer fire department, and there's no information about the fire commissioner or the meeting minutes on the website. So maybe I would guess we recommend we hold this over, and I'll reach out to the fire district to get some additional details.
Yeah, I'd recommend that. Let's track that down, and then I'll hear this next week.
Thank you. The next matter is Jeff Jernigan in PDC case number 10055. Mr. Jernigan's an incumbent fire commissioner for the West Thurston Regional Fire Authority District. He was elected fire commissioner in 2011. He has one prior violation in PDC case 16032 for last year's filer enforcement hearing, and he was assessed a $150 penalty. He failed to file the F1 report for calendar year 2015. So based on those facts, staff would recommend you find a violation of 4217A700 for failing to file an F1 report and assess a $500 penalty in accordance with the penalty schedule.
And Mr. Young, do you know whether that fine was paid, that penalty was paid?
I believe I did see the penalty paid was in there, but I will confirm that.
All right, and if not, let's handle it as with the other one
Perfect.
we just discussed. All right, in the matter of PDC case 10055, I find that the record does support a violation of RCW 4217A700 by Mr. Jernigan for failing to file an F1 report for calendar year 2015. Based on the penalty schedule, having found that violation, I'm assessing the penalty in the amount of $500 to be paid within 30 days. And if not, the staff is to refer the matter to DES for collections within 10 days for full compliance.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next matter is Jose Jimenez, 10056. Mr. Jimenez is an incumbent city council member for the city of Toppenish. He was elected city council member in last year in 2015, or make that 2 years ago now. He was assessed a penalty for late filing his initial F1 as a candidate, one PDC case 16-271, $150 penalty. He did pay that penalty amount. I did see that invoice in there. He failed to file the F1 report for calendar year 2015, so staff would recommend you find a violation of 4217A700 for failing to file an F1 report and assess a $500 penalty in accordance with the penalty schedule for a filer with one prior violation who failed to file the F1 report by the date of the hearing.
All right, and you've not received any information back that suggests he's not received the warning letters? And
No, I looked, and it looked like we mailed the hearing notice to the same address that was on the F1 report that he filed as a candidate.
in the matter of PDC case 10056, I find that the record does support a violation of RCW 4217A700 by Mr. Jimenez for failing to file an F1 report for calendar year 2015. Based on the penalty schedule, having found that violation, I'm assessing a penalty in the amount of $500 to be paid within 30 days. If the amount is not paid in full, requesting the staff refer the matter to DES for collections within 10 days for full compliance.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next case is Kent Keel in PDC case 10057. Staff would recommend you cancel the hearing. Mr. Keel submitted the statement of understanding, the penalty, and filed his F1 this morning. So we would recommend you accept the statement of understanding and payment and cancel the hearing.
Give me a little more information, Mr. Young. He failed to timely file.
Correct. And while the hearing notice asked for the packet to come in by January 11th in order to cancel the hearing, it's been our practice that if we even receive the F1, the statement of understanding and the penalty, that we would cancel the hearing up till the date of the hearing date.
And I'm trying to distinguish the facts of this from one of the other matters.
I think the difference, I know that one of the other,
In one of the other matters, I don't believe the penalty was paid. So if you sign your statement of understanding and provide us with a payment before the hearing, we consider that okay.
No, I'm correct.
But if you file your F1 but you don't make the payment, then you're still going to end up getting a penalty.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And I think that next case you were referring to is going to be Mr. O'Brien, which will be coming up.
All right. So Mr. Young, your recommendation in this matter again? Strike the hearing.
Strike the hearing in light of the fact that Mr. Keel has now filed his F1, filed a statement of understanding with the PDC, and paid a penalty amount for his late filed F1.
And because that happened prior to the hearing, you don't need me to accept the statement of understanding. You can handle that.
Yes, I don't think an order would need to, does an order issue?
That's been our past practice, is to not issue an order and then just cancel the hearing as of.
Because it happened prior to the hearing.
Correct.
All right, that's fine. All right, well, I'll strike this matter 10057.
Thank you. It's unusual circumstance. We get maybe one or two of those every couple of years. Otherwise, they usually come in ahead of time, like a day or a week or, a month before the hearing.
And I'm going to leave the hearing now. I've got to hit the road to get up to Seattle. So.
Right. Thank you, and thank you for help working with the SEC.
So the next matter is Arnold Lind in PDC case 10060. Mr. Lind's an incumbent sewer commissioner for the Ronald Wastewater District. He's been a commissioner since 1997. He has no violations that I could find at all. He failed to file the F1 report for 2015. Based on a previous investigation I did involving the city of Shoreline that filed a complaint against the Ronald Wastewater District for some use of facilities for a ballot measure, the Ronald Wastewater District is being assumed by the city of Shoreline later this year and will go out of existence. The report hasn't been filed, so staff would recommend you find a violation of 4217A 700, assess a $250 penalty in accordance with the penalty schedule. But I'm leaning towards some suspension, if he files a missing report and pays something within a 30-day period, that I would leave that up to you. I mean, he's been an incumbent, sewer commissioner for 20 years with no prior violations. With the district being assumed by the city, they'll no longer be filing obligations. I don't know if it's this next year or not, but it is kind of a different set of circumstances than anything else we're
Yes,
dealing with.
Points well taken, thank you. Having considered all the evidence presented in this case, I'll find that in the matter of PDC case 10060, the record does support a violation of RCW 4217A 700 by Mr. Lin for failing to file an F1 report for calendar year 2015. Having found a violation, I'm assessing a penalty in accordance with the penalty schedule in the amount of $250. Under the circumstances, I'm also suspending $150 of that penalty on the following conditions: that the respondent is in compliance with all reporting obligations, pays the non-suspended portion of the penalty within 30 days and commits no further violations of Chapter 4217A RCW and Chapter 390 WAC for a period of 4 years from this order. If the respondent has not paid that amount, I'll ask that the staff refer it to collections.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next matter is Eileen McCall, PDC case 10066. Ms. McCall is an incumbent city council member for the city of Pullman. She was elected to the city council in 2013. She has no prior F1 violations or any PDC violations for that matter. She failed to file the F1 report for calendar year 2015. Based on those facts, staff would recommend you find a violation of 4217A 700 for failing to file an F1 report and assess a $250 penalty in accordance with the penalty schedule.
All right, thank you, Mr. Young. In the matter of PDC case 10066, I find that the record does support a violation of RCW 4217A 700 by Ms. McCall for failing to file an F1 report for calendar year 2015. Having found a violation, I'm assessing a penalty in the amount of $250 to be paid in full within 30 days. If that amount is not paid in full, I'm requesting the staff refer the matter to DES for collections within 10 days for full compliance.
Thank you. The next matter is Carla Marconi, PDC case 10067. Ms. Marconi is a Park and Recreation Commissioner for the Grand Coulee Area Park and Rec District. She was elected Park and Rec Commissioner in 2005. She has one prior violation for PDC case 13286 for the F1 due for calendar year 2000. She filed the missing F1 report electronically yesterday on January 19th. She did leave a message indicating that she wouldn't be available to participate in the hearing. I made 4 attempts to contact her and see if she wanted to participate by phone, and the phone was either out of range or no answer, no voicemail. So based on those facts, staff would recommend you find a violation of 4217A 700 for failing to timely file the F1 report and assess a $300 penalty in accordance with the penalty schedule for a filer that has one prior violation and filed the missing report prior to the date of the hearing.
And the status of the prior violation,
Pardon me?
the status of the payment for the prior violation?
I believe that had been paid, but I will double check
All
that.
right. And if not, we'll handle it as we have the prior to that we've discussed. Having considered all the evidence presented in this case, in the matter of PDC case 10067, I find that the record does support a violation of RCW 4217A 700 by Ms. Marconi for failing to timely file an F1 report for calendar year 2015. Having found that violation, I'm assessing a penalty in accordance with the penalty schedule in the amount of $300 to be paid within 30 days in full, and if not, the staff shall refer the matter as for collections within 10 days for full compliance.
Thank you. The next matter is Michael McCourt in PDC case 10068. Mr. McCourt's an incumbent sewer commissioner for the Douglas County Sewer District Number 1. He's completed the statement of understanding and filed the F1 report, but he did not pay the penalty and wanted the hearing to be held. He has no prior violations for him, and the additional twist in this case is his spouse is an incumbent East Wenatchee City Council member who has timely filed her F1 report for CY calendar year 2015. Neither of them have any prior violations, so while he did file the report late, his wife is an incumbent City Council member under the same last name, McCourt, has information that's here if the public did want to see. I did compare the two F1s and they are exactly the same. So in this instance, the staff would recommend you find a violation of 4217A 700 for failing to timely file the F1 report, assess a $150 penalty, and suspend that entire amount pending no further violations for 4 years and compliance with any other reporting requirements.
Do you know why he requested the hearing if he didn't participate in the hearing?
No, I think that just that the difference in the penalty would have been $250 to $150. I never had any contact with him. He just submitted the statement of understanding and said, I'm not paying the penalty. He hadn't called, hadn't done any additional outreach with us.
So your recommendation for suspension is based on the fact that the information is available?
For his wife, and that the report was late, we would acknowledge the violation, but the mitigating factors of having that information, from his spouse, if the public did want to see it, there would be some, transparency there for obtaining that information. It is a unique fact pattern. I don't think we found anybody else that has had those similar circumstances for a violation. So that's just my thought on the matter. If we wanted to keep the entire penalty, I'd be okay with that as well.
Well, the point in contrast is that because she had timely filed, all that information was readily available, which would have made it easier for him to have been in compliance.
They both electronically filed. I don't know if he had some issue with the electronic filing. It would surprise me that he would if she filed it, but having not heard any additional information, that was just my initial reaction for this matter.
And he received the warning letters and the...
It didn't get returned, and I'm
Right.
assuming the emails, and then we sent out that one additional email reminder late October, early November, and then he subsequently filed them once he got the hearing notice. So just an unusual fact pattern.
All right.
I hadn't considered it before this time that if the spouse files, the information would be there.
More readily
Yeah.
available for him, at least in my view, I would support the idea that it's less onerous rather than more, so to comply with his statutory obligation. So having considered all the evidence in this case, I am going to find that in the matter of PDC case 10068, the record does support a violation of RCW 4217A 700 by Mr. McCourt Lind for failing to timely file an F1 report for calendar year 2015. Based on the penalty schedule, I'm assessing a penalty in the amount of $150 and requiring that Mr. Lind pay that amount in full within 30 days. And otherwise, we're asking that the staff refer the matter to DES for collections within 10 days if there's not full compliance.
Perfect. The next matter is Mary Ann Naslund, TC case 10069. Ms. Naslund's an incumbent city council member for the city of Sultan. She was appointed into the city council in 2010, lost in 2011, and was elected to that position in 2013. She does have two prior violations, PDC case 13-294 for the calendar year as a candidate, F1, and 16047 as a incumbent official for last year's F1 hearing. She failed to file the F1 report for calendar year 2015. I checked the City of Sultan website, and she still appears to be on the council. I haven't heard from her. The hearing notice or the warning letter did not get returned. Based on that, staff would recommend a violation of 4217A 700 for failing to file the F1 report. This is her third occasion, and she failed to file the report by the date of the hearing. So based on the penalty schedule, the penalty is $1,000. City of Sultan is a fairly small jurisdiction, so I don't know if you would feel like suspending any portion of that. I don't believe that I didn't see any notice in there that she paid those penalties, so I believe those are still outstanding, but I will confirm that as well after this, and then follow up in accordance with your prior direction, and then whatever penalties assessed on this matter.
And she, again, has had no contact back in response to the various warning letters and communication.
And the emails as far as I'm aware of.
Well,
Third violation in 4
right,
years.
right.
So you would think it would be on the radar.
Okay. Having considered all the evidence presented in this case, I'll find that in the matter of PDC case 10069, the record does support a violation of RCW 4217A 700 by Ms. Naslin for failing to file an F1 report for calendar year 2015. Having found the violation based on the penalty schedule for prior violations as well, I'm assessing a penalty in the amount of $1,000. Under the circumstances, if any mitigating circumstances are offered in the future, I'm happy to have you bring those to me, but I don't see any mitigating circumstances on this record today. So I am assessing that this amount in full and requiring that the obligation be paid within 30 days or the matter referred to collections.
Thank you. Thank you. The next matter is Brad O'Brien in PDC case number 10072. Mr. O'Brien's an incumbent school director for the Columbia School District. He has provided a letter in mitigation that has been provided to you this morning. Mr. O'Brien did file the missing F1 report. He completed the statement of understanding and submitted the penalty amount of $100. I spoke with him on the phone yesterday for about 10 minutes, and he had asked in the letter that the penalty be waived, even though he did pay it. He acknowledged that the filing was late. So staff would recommend you find a violation of 4217A 700. He has no prior violations. Based on the fact that he paid that, it's my inclination, based on the letter, that we accept the payment amount as the penalty of $100, suspend the entire $100, and refund the penalty to him pending no further violations of 4 years from the date of the order. He acknowledged it was late. He didn't provide anything other than that it was a busy year, and then he had some confusion over the penalty amount.
Right. I've reviewed his letter. Having considered all the evidence presented in this case, I will find that in the matter of PDC case 10072 that the record does support a violation of RCW 4217A 700 by Mr. O'Brien for failing to timely file an F1 for calendar year 2015. Having found that violation, I'm only going to assess a penalty in the amount of $100 based on the statement of understanding submitted. And what appears to be some confusion between Mr. O'Brien and in his communication with staff. So I'll consider that fulfilling his obligations. And we'll close that.
Thank you. The next matter is Robert Rorick, PDC case 10078. Mr. Rorick's an incumbent fire commissioner for the Skamania Fire Protection District 4. He was elected fire commissioner in 2011, and similar to Ms. Naslin, he has 2 prior violations, 12-073, owing the F1 report as an incumbent official for calendar year 2011, and 14094 as an incumbent fire commissioner for 2013. He did make those penalty payments. However, he failed to file the F1 report for calendar year 2015. Staff recommends you find a violation of 4217A 700 and assess a $1,000 penalty in accordance with the penalty schedule for a filer's third occasion with 2 prior violations.
All right. In the matter of PDC case 10078, I find that the record does support a violation of RCW 4217A700 by Mr. Rourke for failing to file an F1 report for calendar year 2015. Having found a violation based on the penalty schedule and the prior violations, I'm assessing a penalty in the amount of $1,000 to be paid in full within 30 days. If that amount isn't paid, the staff are requested to refer the matter to DES for collections within 10 days for full compliance. And as with the prior matter, all collections to be handled together.
Thank you. The next matter is Cheryl Sanders, PDC case 10079. Ms. Sanders is a fire commissioner for Whatcom County Fire District Number 8. She was elected fire commissioner in 2013. She has no prior violations, and she failed to file the F1 report due April 15, 2016 for calendar year 2015. Based on those facts, staff would recommend you find a violation of 4217A700 for failing to file an F1 report and assess a $250 penalty in accordance with the penalty schedule.
Any communications back from her, from the reminders or the warning letters?
Nope, nothing returned, either the hearing notice or the warning letter either.
All right. In the matter of PDC case 10079, I find that the record does support a violation of RCW 4217A700 by Ms. Sanders for failing to file an F1 report for calendar year 2015. Having found that violation, I'm assessing a penalty in the amount of $250 to be paid in full within 30 days. If not paid in full, PDC staff are directed to refer the matter to DES for collections within 10 days for full compliance.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next matter is Daniel Sexton, PDC case 10080. Mr. Sexton was elected to the Tacoma Civil Service Board in 2005 and has been a Civil Service Board member since that date. Prior to that, he was a registered lobbyist that filed reports for a pipe fitters union. He has no prior violations in the last 5 years. He did have several stipulations prior to that, but it would be outside the scope of this. He filed an F1 report for calendar year 2015, and he filed his F1 report for 2016 yesterday on January 19th. Based on those facts, staff would recommend you find a violation of 4217A700 for failing to timely file the F1 report and assess a $150 penalty in accordance with the penalty schedule.
I'm sorry, Mr. Young. He he late filed, and he's already pre-filed for 2016?
That's
or-
correct.
All right.
Sent in 2 reports yesterday. F1 for CY 2015 and an F1A for CY 2016.
All right. So he falls into the category of having filed prior to the hearing for the 2015.
That's correct.
All right. In the matter of PDC case 10080, I find that the record does support a violation of RCW 4217A700 by Mr. Sexton for failing to timely file an F1 report for calendar year 2015. Having found that violation pursuant to the penalty schedule, I'm assessing a penalty in the amount of $150 to be paid in full within 30 days. And if not, the staff are directed to refer the matter to DES within 10 days for collection.
Thank you. The next matter is Sandra Shirley, PDC case 10082. Ms. Shirley is an incumbent school director for the Orting School District. She was elected school director in 2003. She has no prior violations. She failed to file the F1 report due April 15, 2016 for calendar year 2015. Based on those facts, staff would recommend the hearing notice and the warning letter have not been returned, and we have not had any contact with Ms. Shirley. Based on those facts, we would recommend you find a violation of 4217A7 for failing to file an F1 report and assess a $250 penalty.
All right. In the matter of PDC case 10082, I find that the record does support a violation of RCW 4217A700 by Ms. Shirley for failing to file an F1 report for calendar year 2015. Having found that violation based on the penalty schedule, I'm assessing a penalty in the amount of $250 to be paid in full within 30 days. If not so paid, the staff are directed to refer the matter to DES for collections within 10 days for full compliance.
Thank you. The next Small, PDC case 10083. Mr. Small is a school director for the Royal School District. He was elected school director in 2013 and timely filed reports for the 3 years doing that. He has no prior violations. He failed to file the F1 report for calendar year 2015 due April 15, 2016. The hearing notice and the warning letter have not shown back up to staff as returned, so it appears that he did receive those, but no additional communications has been received. Staff would recommend you find a violation of 4217A700 for failing to file an F1 report and assess a $250 penalty.
Having considered all the evidence presented in this case, in the matter of PDC case 10083, I find that the record does support a violation of RCW 4217A700 by Mr. Small for failing to file an F1 report for calendar year 2015. Based on that violation, in accordance with the penalty schedule, I'm assessing a penalty in the amount of $250 to be paid in full within 30 days. And if it's not paid in full, the staff are directed to refer the matter to DES within 10 days for collections.
Madam Chair. The next case is George Spear. George Spear, PDC case 10085. Mr. Spear is an incumbent water commissioner for the Malaga Water District. He did submit a letter in mitigation. He completed a statement of understanding on January 9th and filed his F1 report but did not pay the penalty. As noted in the letter, he stated that he was in Arizona traveling in his motorhome for 6 months, and when he returned in late November, he found the warning letter from July and subsequently got the hearing notice just a couple days later. Based on our past practice, it does not seem that he received proper notice for the warning letter in a timely manner. When he did receive it, he timely filed, so staff would recommend that we find no violation and dismiss the allegation.
All right. In the matter of PDC case 10083, I find that the record does not support a violation of RCW 4217A700 by Mr. Spear for failing to timely file an F1 report for calendar year 2015, since he did not timely receive the July 6, 2016 warning letter. Having found no violation, no penalty is assessed, and I'll dismiss the allegation and ask that staff provide a written order memorializing today's ruling.
The next case is Peter Swant, PDC case 10086. Mr. Swant's an incumbent port commissioner for the Port of Walla Walla. He was elected port commissioner in 2013. He has 2 prior violations in which he stipulated, filed his F1 and paid the penalty. PDC case 14110 and PDC case 16-064. He failed to file an F1 report for calendar year 2015 due 2016 by April 15th. Based on that, staff would recommend you find a violation of 4217A700 for failing to file the F1 report and assess a $1,000 penalty for a filer who has 2 prior violations that failed to file the report prior to the hearing date.
All right. In the matter of PDC case 10086, I find that the record does support a violation of RCW 4217A700 by Mr. Swant for failing to file an F1 report for calendar year 2015. Having found this violation in accordance with the penalty schedule, given his prior violations, I'm assessing a penalty in the amount of $1,000 to be paid in full within 30 days. If not paid in full, the staff are directed to refer the matter to DES for collection in full compliance.
Thank you. The next matter is Bradley Toft, PDC case 10088. Mr. Toft's an incumbent city council member for the city of Snoqualmie. He was elected to the city council in 2015. Prior to that, he was a legislative candidate in 2012 in the 5th Legislative District. He has no prior violations, and he e-filed the missing F1 report on December 15, 2016. Based on that, staff would recommend you find a violation of 4217A700 for failing to timely file the F1 report and assess a $150 penalty in accordance with the penalty schedule.
In the matter of PDC case 10088, I find that the record does support a violation of RCW 4217A 700 by Mr. Toth for failing to timely file an F1 report for calendar year 2015. Having found that violation based on the penalty schedule, I'm assessing a penalty in the amount of $150 to be paid in full within 30 days. If not paid in full, the staff is asked to refer the matter to DES for collections within 10 days for full compliance.
Madam Chair. The next matter is Danny Walling, PDC case 10089. Mr. Walling's an incumbent fire commissioner for the Clark County Fire District 10. He was elected fire commissioner in 2003. He has 2 prior violations in the last 5 years, PDC case 12-242, and last year, PDC case 16069. It appeared that he paid one of those penalties. I will confirm whether any of those penalties still outstanding. He failed to file the F1 report for calendar year 2016, so similar to the other ones, staff would recommend you find a violation of 4217A 700 for failing to file the F1 report and assess a $1,000 penalty in accordance with the penalty schedule.
In the matter PDC case 10089, I find that the record does support a violation of RCW 4217A 700 by Mr. Walling for failing to file an F1 report for calendar year 2015. Having found a violation, in accordance with the penalty schedule, given the prior violations, I'm assessing a penalty in the amount of $1,000 to be paid in full within 30 days. If not paid in full, the staff is requested to refer the matter to DES for collections within 10 days for full compliance.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And the last case to be heard is Mark Whitaker, PDC case 10093. Mr. Whitaker is an incumbent fire commissioner for Stevens County Fire District 1. He was appointed fire commissioner in 2012. He has 1 prior violation in PDC case 14117, in which he paid the penalty for failing to timely file the F1 report for calendar year 2013. He failed to file the F1 report for calendar year 2015 due April 15, 2016. Based on that fact, staff would recommend you find a violation of 4217A 700 for failing to file an F1 report and assess a $500 penalty in accordance with the penalty schedule for a filer who has 1 prior violation and failed to file the report by the date of the hearing.
In the matter of PDC case 10093, I find that the record does support a violation of RCW 4217A 700 by Mr. Whitaker for failing to file an F1 report for calendar year 2015. Having found that violation, in accordance with the penalty schedule, I'm assessing a penalty in the amount of $500 to be paid within 30 days, or the matter should be referred by the staff to DES for collections within 10 days. Are there any other matters to come before us this morning?
No, there were not.
All right, and we have several we have held over until next week, and then you'll check on the collections on the matters we discussed. And that,
Absolutely, and then I'll brief you on that either prior to or at the break or something.
yeah, next week. All right, thank you, and thank you both for your work on these. It is noon now, still on the January 20th, and we will be adjourned.